and the perfectly groomed outdoor practice spaces. We were playing indoors today, in the immense polo arena attached to the stables. Our team came from the bottom, a neighborhood in Philadelphia where you had a better chance of being incarcerated or getting shot than graduating from high school. We grew up in a city that had one of the highest murder rates per capita in the nation, and that number seemed to be mainly fueled by what went down on a daily basis in our hood. Our team had almost no funding, and a bunch of donated because nobody wanted them anymore ponies who were stabled in the middle of Fairmount Park. The barn was leased from the city by Leslie for $1 a year, and it showed. No indoor ring, no real fields or regulation riding spaces. She'd built the program bit by bit, scraping to get by. All the barn work was done by volunteers and kids who participated in the program. During the warmer months, we practiced polo across the street in a bumpy soccer field, fighting for space with picnickers and ultimate frisbee teams in the good weather. Between October and April, when the ground would freeze and the cold and ice made it too dangerous to play in the soccer field, we simply didn't practice at all. In fact, the only time we even had a chance to ride during polo season was when we traveled to play an actual game in an indoor stadium. We gathered up our stuff and followed Leslie toward the arena, threading our way through the crowds of polo players, grooms, and coaches, all here, like us, for the Southeast Regional Tournament. I mainly kept my head down, wanting to stay out of the way, but occasionally glancing up to see the other players, young men and women in multicolored jerseys and immaculate white jeans, carrying their gear and leading their shiny, muscled ponies. They came from prep schools and military academies from all over the country, some driving in like we had, but in their own BMWs and Audis, or, in the case of the team we were playing, arriving in a borrowed private jet. We entered the stables connected to the arena, and immediately, I felt more at ease. All good barns, no matter how fancy or modest, smell the same. A tinge of dust and damp, the warm scents of horse manure and hay, and the sweet, comforting musk of the animals themselves. That smell meant home to me. It made me walk a little easier. We began to groom the ponies that had been put aside for us, pro-level horses, glowing with health, stamping and snorting, ready to run. They were worlds away from our hand-me-down herd back home. I tried to hide my wonder and envy as I touched the first pony I would ride, running the curry comb over her already gleaming coat, sliding my hands over her sleek, dark neck, strapping on the saddle over her thickly muscled back. I loved our horses back in Philly, but I knew that they were junkers compared to this expensive, perfectly trained Ferrari of an animal. For a moment, I let myself believe that riding a pony this fine was surely all I would need to win. "Hey, Kareem, help me out?" asked Gerb, bringing me back down to earth. He needed me to roll the leather on his stirrups because he was so small that even pulling them up to the last hole still left them too long for his little kid legs. I interlaced my fingers so I could throw him into the saddle. Then I jerked the stirrups as high as I could get them and started to roll, trying to reach the soles of his dangling size 3 boots. As we groomed, I looked around, wondering where the other team was. There was a small crowd of people prepping what I assumed must be their string of ponies, but they were obviously the grooms who had flown over with them, not the players themselves. It wasn't until we entered the arena, leading our horses behind us, that we finally came face to face with our opposing team. It was made up of 8 big, strapping white boys, 2 fresh players for every chucker. They were clean-cut, almost men with rigid military posture and the look of athletes who didn't know how to lose. Leslie had told us a little about them, so I knew that back at their Midwestern school, they had hundreds of perfectly groomed acres, access to a string of specially trained, high-goal polo ponies, and one of the finest indoor arenas in the nation where they could practice every day, year-round if they wanted to. Their coach was a lean, good-looking, ex-pro 10-goal player who was known for his no-mercy approach on the field. In later years, he would go on to be a private coach for one of his more talented players, being paid in the high 6 figures to fly all over the world with his charge. Our coach was a frazzled-looking, middle-aged white lady who spent most of her time just trying to make sure her players actually made it to and from her barn without getting shot. Leslie had left